Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, October 19th, 2020 Upper Providence Board of Supervisors meeting, and I'm calling this meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. The first item up is a motion to approve the board agenda. Has everyone had the opportunity to look it over?
I'll make a motion that we approve tonight's board agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, public comment.
I'm seeing none.
No?
No one's raised their hand of the 5 attendees that we have.
Okay. There is no executive session to report, and I'll move on to the approval of the bill list for September 16th, 2020 to October 14th, 2020 in the amount of $1,182,655.10. Has everyone had the opportunity to look over the bill list?
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we approve the bill list for the period September 16, 2020 through October 14, 2020 in the amount of $1,182,655.10.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Next item is the approval of the minutes from September 21st, 2020 regular meeting.
We entertain a motion?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for the Upper Providence Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, September 21st, 2020.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, we have no public hearing. I'm going to move on to old business. The first item is consider enactment of Ordinance 585 regarding the franchise agreement with Comcast. I'm going to ask Tim or Brian to sort of recap this one.
If you recall, we engaged the services of Cohen Law Group. They're a specialty legal firm that handles a lot of the cable franchise agreements for the Montgomery County Consortium, the Bucks County Consortium, and they are involved in both the Comcast and Verizon cable agreements. This is pretty much a standard renewal. The only noteworthy thing that is, I should probably say, is that they've agreed to give us a capital allocation of $17,000 that can be applied to any type of service. We had tried to get them unsuccessfully to try to give us a dedicated high-definition cable channel. Our current cable channel we've pretty much discontinued because of it's an analog-based system, and we're gravitating toward kind of the YouTube and more high-definition streaming services, which they don't provide that service, but they've given us a capital outlay that we can apply toward that as we move along in our preparations. I got some questions before the meeting about how much money do we bring in from Comcast. Our total budget that we bring in from franchise fees, when you consider both Comcast and Verizon, it's about $500,000 a year. I think for a while there, Comcast was the only game in town. When Verizon came on the scene a few years ago, they've been slowly chipping away at that, mainly because both companies offer bundled services, and they sometimes are at price wars, and some people are on Comcast and they get off and get on Verizon. But generally, the budget revenue is around $500,000, and it's assessed a 5% fee on gross revenues for cable services. That does not include anything like any of the premium channels or any of the internet services. We're not allowed by federal law to collect that tax. So basically what you have before you is a franchise renewal. Given the rapid evolution of this technology, we got a long-term commitment from Comcast because as streaming technology continues to continue forward, our negotiating leverage continues to weaken. So we wanted to get into a long-term relationship with them. Joe, is there anything you want to add? I know you've been in touch with Phil Fraga on that, if there's any. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep thinking you're up here.
No, I think you covered it pretty well. And yeah,
Okay.
I did talk to them at the front, and it's about, like you said, we mentioned once before, the big difference now versus before is you used to get 5% plus the throw-in stuff. And there was a ruling that the throw-in stuff counts towards their 5%. So it's actually a little weaker than it sometimes was in the past.
And they've agreed not to deduct that $17,000 from our franchise fee, because they initially started out at 0. They didn't want to give us anything.
Did we get any public comment or correspondence about this?
I have not.
In the 30 days? No?
Cheryl?
Okay. Okay.
I have a question. Mr. President, my concern about the agreement is, it says in Section 3.1, Comcast shall operate, maintain, and construct a cable system. I have a problem with the maintaining at times. Do we have a contact as far as making sure that their vaults are not in disrepair, or the taps that are in the neighborhood, the boxes that are just destroyed, and also the aerial taps that often hang down along the telephone poles they install, and they don't do it completely, or they're just in disrepair? That's what I need, because you can't call Comcast for anything.
There's a liaison for the township. I don't have that person, but I believe Tim O'Brien does, or the office does, for those things.
Okay, yeah, same thing with Verizon. Verizon's worse than Comcast with this stuff, but we need
Yeah,
to...
Comcast, we at least have a contact for. Verizon, there's
Yeah,
We used to, but we don't
no
anymore.
rep.
yeah. So I'd like to address those types of things. So, okay, thank
I'll
you.
make sure from our attorney that we get a specific person with a phone number.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Ordinance 585 regarding the franchise agreement with Comcast.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, next is consider enactment of Ordinance 586 regarding the street renaming new address for a portion of Bechel Road. I think we went over this last time as well. Is there any questions or comments?
I noticed in the ordinance, we said that the township would take care of notifying all of the appropriate services, the postal service, and anyone else that need to know about the addressing change.
Yes.
That's, okay, good. And we're not going to have to do any road renaming if this board decides to construct that part of Hopwood that we have the right-of-way to.
If you decide not to, yes. We will not have
Whether
to
we do
rename
or we
any.
don't, there won't be any more
Right.
renaming after
Right.
this. Okay.
Correct.
Good.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Ordinance 586 regarding the street renaming new addresses for a portion of Bechel Road.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries. Yeah, sure.
I just have a question about that. Since we're directing more traffic up Bechtel, it's not really, it's really a right turn onto the old, up towards Ithan Lane. It's really a right turn. There's no smooth transition. And I'm not talking about constructing that extension, but as you cross 113 down, yeah, right there, it's really a right turn. Has there been any thought about smoothing that out so it's more of a direct route onto there?
While the plan has not been engineered for anything that's a township, potential township construction in through here, the sketches that we've put together do show a smoother transition here, a better transition where you sort of stay on this road, and it becomes a T intersection with Bechel, which was this portion of Bechel Road, of the southern portion of Bechel Road. That would tee into
All right.
what would be called Hopwood Road.
All right, so if this board or a future board plans to make any changes, we're going to fix this?
Yes.
These issues. All right, that's good. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, next one up is consider adopting Resolution 2020-46 regarding traffic signal changes for the street renaming new address for a portion of Bechtel Road.
This is just changing the signage for what we just voted on.
This is an additional TE 160. It goes hand in hand with the prior action the board just took to change the sign on the mast arm and at the intersection of what is now Hopwood, Bechtel, and 113 to just be Hopwood on both sides at 113.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2020-46 regarding traffic signal changes for the street renaming / new addresses for a portion of Bechtel Road.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, new business. Consider authorizing advertisement of Ordinance 587 altering Jacob Street to align directly with Walnut Street. So is this an ordinance change for this work to happen, or would it?
This is an ordinance, correct me as I go here, Joe, but this is an ordinance to abandon a portion of what is now Jacobs Street right-of-way. And in conjunction with that grant-funded project, the Montclair alignment project to align Jacobs Street with Walnut Street.
We do have an agreement in principle with the one property owner who's really being affected uniquely. But the steps require this ordinance before we finish out that agreement with him.
We have to give up part of the property, right? Is it?
Yes.
Remember, we spoke about it before.
You have to do it formally, and you record the ordinance at the courthouse.
I know that I've asked Brian this question before.
I'll answer it before you ask it. Last week, we received a review letter from PennDOT with just one comment only, to move a telephone pole back 2 feet from the edge of the road. Tawn from Traffic Planning and Design should be resubmitting that next week, and hopefully we will then have a clean review letter from PennDOT. Be another step closer to bidding the project.
How close are we to putting a shovel in the ground down there?
To putting a shovel in the ground. We're probably 6 months away from putting a shovel in the ground.
6 months away?
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah.
What is this?
He's going to mark it down.
November, December, January, February, March,
Easter,
April.
John.
So by April of this year, we should be on moving.
I think so.
Thank you, Brian.
Not fast enough, I know, John.
I have another question. This might be for Joe. I know we were trying to make an agreement with the guy to give up the property, but there was someone else that we also had to get an agreement with. Did that happen?
Well, there's actually several easements that we need and temporary construction easements that we need. And those people, I've sent them all out, and a couple of them have gotten back to me with some real basic questions. I know Produce Junction is signing and sending back. There's only one guy I have not heard from at all, and I'll chase that down.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I will happily make that motion, Madam Chairperson. I will make a motion to approve Ordinance 587, altering Jacob Street to align directly with Walnut Street.
I think we're just authorizing advertisement, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't have to send special notice out to the surrounding neighbors.
Right, so this will be back on the agenda next month, but yeah, okay.
Okay, can I have a second? All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, consider authorizing advertisement of a cleanup ordinance amending various chapters of the Township Code.
This is something you've had through the manager's report, I think as a special supplement to that. We've been going through, it's probably almost a year now, just sections of the ordinance, catching up to engineering issues, conflicts in the ordinance. It's everything from the sewer ordinance to the subdivision land development ordinance and the zoning ordinance. It's about 25 pages. We can go over in greater detail if we have a hearing about it. It's just something the township needs to do every few years just to sort of catch up to the modern practices, and so here we are.
Is there anything noted that you want to go into depth on? Anything?
No, again, I mean, we can go through in the hearing, and I can give a quick, because there's, I think, something like 40 different items. It's mostly engineering, whether it's, a lot of the waivers that we tend to hear here at this, in front of the board. It's a lot of those waivers, we're cleaning them up so that we don't have to have a waiver every time for a basin depth or a basin slope. We're catching up to that. There's a few other things just as other departments sort of come in and say, I need to clean this up, I need to fix this. And again, there's nothing really major in it,
Okay.
but we'll go through it. And I'll provide you with a hard line copy and a sort of a red line copy so you can see what has changed.
Okay.
So Jeff, was this something that we did in-house, like you and Brian and staff? Or was
Yeah. Yeah.
The planning commission didn't have anything to do with this?
They've looked at it, and we've talked to the planning commission about it. They've given me a couple things that, as time goes on, they'll say, Jeff, make sure you mark that down for the next cleanup ordinance. And I sort of keep a running file. Brian, I'm sure, has a running file too, and he'll send me an email saying, oh, fix this, and, I'll talk to Matt, and something will come up that's a conflict, and we're like, do we really want to make someone do this anymore? And we'll make a change, or we'll suggest a change. You get to
Okay.
make the change.
Thank you.
So.
All right, if there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize advertisement of a cleanup ordinance amending various chapters of the Township Code.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, consider waiving the sign permit fee for 2 signs to be placed on the DeHovis property designating the permanent preservation status of the farm located at 115 Wortman Road.
Montgomery County reached out to me and asked, and sent me a sign permit and asked for the township to waive the sign permit fee of $69, I think it is. They're putting up their typical sign, similar to the signs that we have that are, this property is permanently protected, permanently preserved through whatever program they use. It'll put the county name on there, things like that. And they're just asking for a waive of the fee.
Well, that seems reasonable. Is everybody in agreement?
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we waive the sign permit fee for the 2 signs to be placed on the DeHovis property designating the permanent preservation status of the farm located at 115 Wortman Road.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
I have a comment here, since we're talking about signage. I was wondering if we could look into doing something about welcoming people into Upper Providence Township. Coming in from Collegeville, there's one little street sign that says Upper Providence Township or something. I know that at one time, we were supposed to have a big sign down there on the corner of Black Rock and Egypt that welcomes people to the township that was supposed to be at the expense of the developer. I was wondering where that is. And I noticed recently that the signage that was put out on the bridge coming from Phoenixville is a nice addition to Upper Providence. It's a nice welcoming sign.
Looks good.
And I'm making a recommendation that we look into doing that on all the accesses to Upper Providence, whether it be on Ridge Pike or wherever else, welcoming people to our municipality. If someone would look into that, I'd appreciate that.
The Montclair Alignment Project will incorporate the first type of sign that you're referring to, with channel letters in aluminum similar to those out front of the administration building, on a curved wall with the similar stone of this building and the police department, to try to tie that that concept together. And the first one that we'll install will be in conjunction with that Montclair project. It'll be at the corner of Jacobs and Bridge
Great.
Street.
Cool. And also, at one point, Brandolini was supposed to, at the shopping center, was supposed to have something up there on his board, if someone would look into that and make sure that that's being met, if you would, please.
You're talking the digital, is that the digital board?
It's the digital one, correct.
At Wegmans.
Every so often, that sign was supposed to say, "Welcome to Upper Providence Township." I've never seen it on that board.
I have a meeting with Brandolini coming up next week about tying all of the town center together from a visual standpoint, crosswalks with the Audubon Land Development, with White Springs Farm, and with the town center, shopping center. So I will bring that up to him then, and the other developer that you mentioned will be at that meeting that has the sign at Black Rock and Egypt Road, and I will reinitiate that conversation with him.
Thank you, Jeff.
I agree with Mr. Pearson. We have, as big as town we are, we have little identity when we drive in it. So Ridge Pike and Main Street, and
Yeah.
we should have 3 or 4 or 5 signs, and perhaps we can talk about it at the budget and put some capital money to it.
This is a great township, and I think we ought to welcome people here, and it's worth a few dollars and our time to do so.
Consider most people think they live in Collegeville or sort of in Phoenixville.
That's another good reason.
Right.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah, well, it's
They don't live in
mailing
Upper
address.
Providence.
Yes.
I have a quick question. Who was responsible for the signs in the Canal Bridge? They're really well done.
It was, I was involved with Phoenixville. Phoenixville received a multimodal grant through Delaware Valley Regional Planning to do the whole walkway and the signage. I was involved during the planning process. Once it sort of got to a point, I stepped away because it was really construction and Phoenixville was managing that. The signs looked a little different in the plan originally, but I think what they came up with, it looked spectacular. And so Phoenixville was really running the process. We had a little bit of input. They wanted to put Montclair at the sign at one point, and I sort of fought to put Upper Providence. So we were,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
you know, now I think we're sort of setting the model, and maybe we can use something like that moving forward and put other signs up.
Yeah, because they used the Phoenix steel. I think that's what the poles were. They
Yeah.
pulled it. Phoenix steel, yeah. Okay. I think that's it. It was short for tonight. We're on to, yeah, managers, as far as passing things. Manager and department head reports.
Did we get any pictures up? Do you want to?
Spectacular.
This was our, is it our spectacular? And I think we had several hundred people, and I guess the good news is there's good news and bad news. The good news is we had more people than we anticipated, several hundred people that came by. Senator Muth was around to give out pumpkins. We ran out of pumpkins. We also ran out of candy. I think we did a quick trip down to Varner's to get apples, to give away apples, so I think everybody got something. But I think we had no idea what the turnout. It was a really good turnout, really good weather. So this was kind of a play on our community week. It's our best effort at trying to do social distancing and trying to at least engage the community as much as we can. Any other feedback? I think, Brian, you brought your kids, and so you brought kids. So, and I think you all got an announcement today about on Veterans Day, we're going to be having our formal dedication of our Veterans Monument, and I saw Billy be willing to give a few words. And last but not least, just have some good news to share. We had an official, our very first official meeting with our rating company from Moody's. We did a big presentation to try to convince them that we are high quality bond material before we go out for bond for our thing. And we just heard today that we got a AAA bond rating.
Wow, good.
So once it's official, we'll be putting a press, Moody's puts together a press release, and we'll put out a press release once it's finalized. But
A big thank you to you guys for even handling that and keeping the township running steady and smooth financially, and it shows.
that's all I have unless there's any questions. Oh, just, we'll probably come up with this later, but we do have our budget workshops I know tonight, we kept it light, easy for you tonight because we'll be getting into some hot and heavy budget stuff starting this Thursday, the 22nd. We've got the Zoom credentials I sent to Ariel, so we'll get those up for this Wednesday. This Thursday. We'll be discussing the revenue, pretty much the revenue and expenditure forecast for general fund, going over township administration, public works, planning and zoning, and parks and recreation. Monday night, we'll be discussing this is Monday night, the 26th. Also starting at 6 o'clock, we'll be doing our our sewer revenue and expense, going over police, fire, and then a general review of our capital budget. And then our last workshop is just winding out, putting all the pieces together, and we'll review the 2021 preliminary budget. And then there's still a lot of open issues. Because of the pandemic, we really didn't have a chance to do any goal-setting workshops or discuss some of the open issues that are out there. Some of these open issues are any bond issues that we do for 2021, continuing long-term planning for the Library and Learning Center. We still have some open issues on the MS4 funding. A lot of this is for next year. I didn't want to think this is for this year's budget, but the year goes by awful quickly. I'm having a special meeting tomorrow with some barn experts on the Taylor Park plan. I think Lori's going to be sitting in on that one. And the Joyce property, there's some issues on that we need to talk about. Discussions on our sewer system, and also general regional initiatives as we go forward further on our fire issues. The more in depth we get, the more regional some of the issues come up, and I think we need to have a discussion on how we want to go forward. These are just some of the issues that I have, and there may be others that it's kind of an open-ended discussion on a lot of issues that had we not been in this pandemic, we would have had more sit-downs to talk about.
Should we move on to solicitor's report?
I do not.
Just briefly, you are the proud recipient of a 5-year MS4 permit from DEP finally. It was a submission made originally in September of 2018. We did get that permit in, so you'll have the opportunity to do that once again in September of 2023. One point in the permit is that the pollution reduction plan was approved, and that's the basin at GSK, the sediment removal basin at GSK. That does not have to be implemented until October of 2025. So that'll figure in some of your long-term capital budgeting plans, I'm sure. Other things, the Rivercrest Trail project is moving forward. That will include the crossing of Black Rock Road here at the Township Building. There'll be I don't want to say a signal, but a flashing crossing there is what will happen at that location. Caroline Drive storm sewer projects proceeding with surveying, and we did get the grant agreement back on the Spring Mill Estates project for the sanitary sewer, so that can move on to the bidding phase as soon as we get the last easement executed on that project. So probably see that to go out to bid very soon. I think you previously authorized the bidding of that upon receipt of the necessary grant agreement and the easement. So we'll be moving forward very shortly on that. That concludes my report.
Oh, Bill, if I could ask you. The trail that goes from Upper Schuylkill Park down to Lock 60, did that get washed out at some point? Because it's closed.
The August storm caused some damage down
Yeah.
there, and I don't know where the county stands on opening that at this point. Brian, I don't know if you have an update or not.
Ironically, I walked that section today. It's still closed off, and I did not write Michelle Harris from the county to inquire as to what they're doing or the timeline for fixing it, but I'll report back to you.
Yeah.
It's really only down by the Lock 60.
Yeah, it's only the first, 200 yards or so.
99, you can not walk 99% of it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it was roped off a couple weeks ago because I was at the park.
The vast majority of it held up very well during the storm. It's only
Yeah.
the last,
Right where the
500,000
spillway
feet.
is. Right where the spillway is.
Well, and then anyway, I saw a bicyclist come up from the other side, so he came up the trail. to
There
the
are many
drop-off
people using
part.
it, yeah.
And I said, so what's wrong with the trail? And he says, nothing.
Yeah.
So,
I just wonder if every time it gets a little washed out, if this is gonna happen. I hope not, because
Well, I think that was a significant rain event, but I think it will, that portion of the trail will require more maintenance than most others. I'm very grateful the county took the responsibility for it.
The portion that they improved was fine. That was an existing portion, so.
Now, there's one-
They did a good job, whatever they did last year.
Yeah, the vast majority held up real well. There's one section where about a foot of material was scoured away, so. I'll find out. I'll report back to the board.
I just had one small thing. First of all, I hope you all doing great. Just to let you know, Linfield Trap, Township Line Road intersection improvements are moving along really well. We expect that they could be completed, weather dependent, by the end of the year, and we're tracking to get signal poles there, right, Brian? So if everything's on track the way Barwis, the contractor, thinks they're going to be, I think we could have a completed project before the end of the year.
consultants. Solicitor, we don't have any comments, and supervisor comments.
I have a thank you letter that I would like to read. During these turbulent and uncertain times, we are humbled by the compassion and outpouring of generosity of our community. Throughout the COVID-19 crisis, the steadfast support from you, our businesses, and our neighbors has lifted our spirits and buoyed our strength. From making financial contributions to donating protective gear and supplies to dropping off food, your gifts have helped us make a meaningful difference. Because of local businesses and people like you, we are and will remain Upper Providence strong. Tonight, we take this moment to acknowledge you for your unselfish contribution and thank you for your amazing support. We would like to recognize the following contributors: BJ's Wholesale, Shepherd Redistribution, Kyle's Quillos, Valco Sanitary Supply, Wegmans, Moe's Southwest Grill, Wawa Store number 141, House of India, City Line Construction, Philly Pretzel Factory, Arrowhead Elementary, Kathy Albers, Target, Pfizer, Vince Norton, Santa Build, The Learning Express, San Pedro Financial, Starbucks and Oaks, ID Life Vitamins, Lowe's, Winds Express, Premier Tech, Bio One, Taco Pizza, A-Vision Sales Group, and many township residents who dropped off food or donated in other ways that preferred to remain anonymous. We'd like to thank you. Also, I want to recognize that the police department received many donations also, and that the chief took it upon himself to handwrite thank you notes to everyone that brought something in. He placed it on his personal stationery, and he thanked all of those individuals personally. So again, I'd like to thank all of those people on this list, and probably missed a few, and I'd like to thank everyone who donated or contributed in any way. Thank you.
You have a book.
guess what? I have more books. One is Kidnapper's Accomplice by C.J. Archer, All the Devils Are Here by Louise Penny, and Freedom National by James Oakes. I'm still listening to it. It's very long, but it's a very interesting history on how the United States, through legislation and through, the social ways that things worked and the ideas that they played around with and expressed, eventually got to abolishing slavery. Sounds dry, but it actually isn't too bad. It's pretty interesting. So that's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to rattle off some upcoming events. We did go over all the budget agendas, but October 22nd, 26th, and 29th will be meeting for budget workshops at 6 o'clock. November 9th at 7, we're going to be doing our budget preliminary presentation. November 16th at 7 o'clock, we have a regular Board of Supervisors meeting. December 7th, we go back to budgets at 7 o'clock. We're going to do a budget adoption meeting. And December 21st at 7 o'clock, we have another regular Board of Supervisors meeting. Planning Commission, October 28th is canceled. The next one will be November 12th. And the items on the agenda are Pulte zoning and map amendment and SEI. Parks and Recs Committee meeting is October 21st at 6 o'clock. Comprehensive Plan Subcommittee meeting schedule is October 21st at 7 o'clock. And the Municipal Authority meeting schedule is December 3rd at 7 o'clock. All right. Anything else? I'll call this meeting to adjournment. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.